Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads, Lee here, and welcome to a book haul. This is not the book haul I planned to give. I was going to do a little rom-com book haul, but when I was doing my research for yesterday's Book Talk Tuesday, which is all about apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic fiction, naturally I ended up buying some books. I ended up buying 7 books, all apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic, and I love that theme in fiction. So I will tell you what I ended up coming home with, or bringing home somehow or another. The first book is one that I have resisted for quite some time. They made a TV show out of it, and I never could get into it, so I didn't buy the book. However, what the hell? That's Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This was a National Book Award finalist, so I'm going to try to read this and see what I feel and not try to think about the TV show, which just, again, I don't watch TV a lot, so that could be why. In Station 11, Kristen Raymond will never forget the night Arthur Leander, the famous Hollywood actor, had a heart attack on stage during a production of King Lear. That was also the night when a devastating flu pandemic arrived in the city, and within weeks, civilization as we know it came to an end. Hold up, I gotta see when this was published. Copyright 2014. 20 years later, Kirsten. Should I have my glasses on? Kirsten moves between the settlements of the altered world with a small troupe of actors and musicians. I really needed to put my glasses on because I thought that said mustaches at first. They call themselves the Traveling Symphony, and they have dedicated themselves to keeping the remnants of art and humanity alive. But when they arrive in St. Deborah by the water, they encounter a violent prophet who will threaten the tiny band's existence. And as the story takes off, moving back and forth in time and vividly depicting life before and after the pandemic, the strange twist of fate that connects them all will be revealed. It does sound interesting. Well, I'm going to read one of these books next. I'm just not sure which one it is. Next up is one I had not heard about, but this is interesting. It is Grievers by Adrienne Maree Brown. And I'm definitely going to put my glasses on for this. Ooh, Tananarive Due blurbs this. Dune's mother is a patient of a mysterious illness that stops people in their tracks, in mid-sentence, mid-action, mid-life, casting them into a non-responsive state from which no one recovers. Dune must navigate poverty and the loss of her mother as Detroit's hospitals, morgues, and graveyards begin to overflow. As the quarantined city slowly empties of life, she investigates what caused the plague and what might end it. Following in the footsteps of her late researcher father, who has a physical model of Detroit's history and losses set up in their basement, she dusts it off and begins tracking the sick and dying, discovering patterns, finding comrades in curiosity, conspiracies for the fertile ground of the city, and the unexpected magic that emerges when the debt of grief is cleared. Again, never heard of this book, but they had it at my local Barnes & Noble, so this, that was kind of surprise to me because I'd not even heard one thing about it. Next up is a book that I have heard of, and they made a movie out of it, and I've not watched that, and I'm sure many of you have heard about it as well. That is World War Z by Max Brooks. I love a zombie apocalypse novel. My sister turned me on to The Walking Dead years ago, and I became a huge fan. I kind of petered off at the end after I moved into this house during the pandemic. I just stopped watching so much television because I was reading, but I do look forward to reading this. World War Z is an oral history of the zombie war. We survived the zombie apocalypse, but how many of us are still haunted by that terrible time? We have, temporarily, defeated the living dead, but at what cost? Told in the haunting and riveting voices of the men and women who witnessed the horror firsthand, World War Z is the only record of the plague years. I almost think I might want to listen to this because it's a oral history. I'll check it out on Audible and see what the narration is like. If it's got a full cast, I'm all in. Next up, again, another book I had not heard of. This is I believe it's a different kind of apocalyptic novel. This is called The Book of M by Peng Shepherd. One afternoon, at an outdoor market in India, a man's shadow disappears, an occurrence that science cannot explain. He's only the first. The phenomenon spreads like a plague, and while those afflicted gain a strange new power, the magic comes at a horrible price, the loss of all their memories. 2 years later, Ori and his wife Max have escaped the forgetting by hiding in an abandoned hotel deep in the woods outside Arlington, Virginia. Their new life feels almost normal until their greatest fear happens to them and Max's shadow disappears too. Knowing that the more she forgets, the more dangerous she will become to the person more precious to her, Max runs away while Ori is out foraging for supplies. But he refuses to give up what little time they have left together. Desperate to find Max before her memory disappears completely, Ori follows her trail across a perilous, unrecognizable world, braving the threat of roaming bandits, the call to a new war being waged amid the ruins of the capital, and the rise of a sinister cult that worships the shadowless. On their separate journeys, each searches for answers. For Ori, about love, about survival, about hope, and for Max, about a mysterious new force growing in the South that may hold the cure. I think what I'm going to do, not on camera, is read the first page of each of these books and then decide which one of these I want to read next. Next up is a novel that was shortlisted for the 2020 Booker Prize. In 2020, I did not know what the Booker Prize was. I do now. That is The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. I actually really love this cover. This is an environmental novel of our times. Fast-paced, thrilling story, brutal and beautiful, says Emily St. John Mandel of Station 11. Bee's daughter, Agnes, is slowly wasting away, her lungs ravaged by the smog and pollution of the overpopulated metropolis they call home. The only alternative is to build a life in the vast expanse of untamed land known as the Wilderness State. No one has been allowed to venture here before. That is all about to change. But as Bee soon discovers, saving her daughter's life might mean losing her in ways she hadn't foreseen. Interesting. The next book is one I think I saw when I was doing some research for Native American voices in fiction, which I did a couple weeks ago. And that book, I didn't pick it up then because I wasn't sure why. I don't know why. That is Moon of the Crusted Snow by Waubgeshig Rice. Waubgeshig? I'm not sure. I apologize. My pronunciation is horrendous. And on the back it doesn't say what it is. Okay. As one society collapses, another is reborn. With winter looming, a small northern Anishinaabe community goes dark. Cut off from power and communication with no foreseeable resolution, only very few residents truly realize the community's shortfalls. When unexpected visitors arrive, escaping the crumbling society to the south, tensions rise and allegiances are divided. The harsh winter months pass slowly, and the food supply dwindles as the death toll and panic rise. But the greatest threat to survival of the reserve might come from within the community itself. this makes me feel cold. And we're about to have our coolest week so far of October this week. So I'm not sure. Might want to save that for a little bit further into winter by the fire. Next up is oh, this is the last one. I just blew through these. This is the one I'm considering reading next, but again, I'm going to read the first page of every one and then decide. This is the 2020 edition. It was originally published in originally published in November 1985. Copyright. This copyright is 2020. The author writes a preface to the 2020 edition. I honestly would love to see a preface now. That is David Brin's The Postman. There was also a movie starring Kevin Costner. I'm going to look at the trailer and see if I can find it for free online. Don't know if I'll watch it. Apparently it got mixed reviews. I did not do a deep dive on that. This is the story of a lie that became the most powerful kind of truth. A timeless novel as urgently compelling as War Day, which I haven't heard of, or Alas, Babylon, which I talked about in my Book Talk Tuesday. Pat Frank's Alas, Babylon. Excellent book. I read it a long time ago. May do a reread one day. David Brin's The Postman is the dramatically moving saga of a man who rekindles the spirit of America and civilization through the power of a dream, then a story, and finally, a legend. From a modern master of science fiction, The Postman has inspired citizen movements in 25 languages around the world and a major motion picture. He was a survivor, a wanderer who traded tales for food and shelter in the dark and savage aftermath of a devastating war. Fate touches him one chill winter's day when he borrows the jacket of a long-dead postal worker to protect himself from the cold. The old, worn uniform still has power as a symbol of hope, and with it, he begins to weave his greatest tale of a nation on the road to recovery. Interesting. I'm really considering this one. I like the preface. I'm going to read a little bit from the preface. The Postman was written as an answer to all those post-apocalyptic books and films that seem to revel in the idea of civilization's fall and that only lone heroes can make a difference. Yes, heroes matter, but far more important would be reminding survivors that they once had been mighty beings called citizens, and they might be yet again. It looks so good. Hey, before I wrap things up, I want to say thank you to all subscribers and to new subscribers. We've got quite a few over the past couple weeks. I appreciate every one of you watching my videos, and if you have any input or suggestions on things you'd like to hear, please hit me up down in the comments. I, as always, will put links to these books to bookshop.org in the description box. If you've read any of these, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. Do you have any recommendations for apocalyptic fiction that I may not have covered in my Book Talk Tuesday or today? Because I love it. I can't get enough of it. In fact, I really can't get enough of it because even though I did a ton of books yesterday and a ton of books today, there's more apocalyptic fiction upstairs that I haven't even begun to touch on. Anywho, I'd love to hear your recommendations. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how I could improve things or what you would like to hear. That is it for me. I hope you have a great reading week. My week has started out good. I hope. As I said on my weekend books on Monday, October's been full of highs and mehs. There's nothing in between. So, anywho, that is it. Happy reading.